And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Holy Crap, the Vlogcast. Vlogcast that comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why. Vlogcast started as a combination of spite and the Streisand effect because there's something about the way that I'm setting up the show, apparently, with YouTube, where it keeps thinking that the show was supposed to be starting the day before it actually starts, and like hours before, and I don't understand why. I'm really getting upset with this because this is more than once that this has happened and I've had to change it at the last minute just to make sure that everything's right. Which means I'm just frustrated as all hell, so if I'm a little pissy, that's going to be why. And part of this is to follow through with the old adage that sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. I'm your main host. I'm known as Shujin Tribble. You can find me pretty much everywhere under that name. That's Shujin. And for that one person over there on Blue Sky, yes, I am the definitive article. I am the original. There's a thing behind that. Maybe I'll explain it later. You ask really nicely. Joining me tonight from the Midwest of the U.S., Brigid Fitch. Good to have you back.
Good evening.
And actually, I didn't even double check. From somewhere in France, Joseph made it. Good morning. Yeah, I didn't ask. Are you back in Paris, or are you still out at the castle?
No, I'm back in Paris.
That was last week you were out there, wasn't it?
Yep. And Saturday night, well, I was getting ready to go to bed, and we had some surprise newcomers at around midnight, and it ended up going until about like 4 o'clock in the morning. So,
So at that point, you figured the better idea was, yeah, they can do without me. I'd need sleep.
well, I did try to wake up, but failed.
Perfectly understandable. I hope you had yourself a good time, though.
Yeah, it was great. Thanks.
Brilliant. So, everybody, of course, as always, welcome back. We're still kind of waiting to find out if Tech ends up showing up. I didn't hear that he was not going to be here. I don't remember him saying so. So, he may pop up. I don't know. We'll see. But otherwise, it's good to be back with y'all. And of course, if you decide that you want to join us as we record, you can be part of the live chat over there. For instance, Stephanie keeps showing up, even though keeps saying, it's gonna be horrible weather. I want to go to sleep, and then all of a sudden wakes up and it's just like, oh yeah, I'm here. Everything's fine. Everything's cool. Whatever. Hi. Wasn't complaining this week, but it was just funny from previous. And Seeker, you made it. Hi. So that you guys know, Fearless is out this weekend, so not going to be joining you. So don't worry. It's not like you got to pick up the slack or nothing. I know how you guys are. So just thank you. It's going to be fun. We'll see how it plays out. Yeah, the whole pissy thing for me, as far as to setting things up with YouTube for the scheduling and whatnot, I've had a couple of times where I have set up, and I know that I've set up the timing correctly for the show. There's a process for putting it in, and I know full well I set it by the calendar drop down that it has, set it for the date, which is Sunday, set it for the time, 12:05 UTC, and well, things just go whatever the hell it decides. It said that the show was supposed to have been recording yesterday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Why? I don't know, but it's the second time it's done that. So, if anybody's got an in on YouTube, wants to fill me in on the why or what I'm doing wrong, hey, I'd love to hear from you. But don't go ahead and tell me that I'm doing it wrong, because I know full well I'm doing it right. So, I don't want to hear it. It's going to be what it's going to be. So,
Well, you just said 12:05 UTC, which would not be correct.
No, you're right. You're right. I'm sorry. I meant 12:05 Eastern. Sorry. Yeah, I misspoke. I know that I hit the numbers correctly because, well, Google goes ahead and says, hey, what's your local time frame? Cool, we'll make sure that everything is that way until you tell us otherwise. And there's no way of telling it otherwise when you're setting up. So now I know that I've got everything set correctly. At least it's supposed to be set correct. You know what? Whatever. I'll bitch about Google later. Not like we're paying them anything. You know, we're paying them an exposure. So thanks, guys. Closing the underbelly. Whatever. It is going to be what it's going to be. Everything will be fine. I know full well everything will be fine. That's cool. It's going to be. Far as drink tonight, I'm doing orange juice again because this whole week has basically blended into one long awake time period, and I've been a little. Is there? Here's an actual question for you guys. Is there an accepted level of long-term dehydration? Because I keep drinking and keep drinking and keep drinking mostly water with a little bit of stuff to flavor it so that it's not just water, to the point where I know full well internally I'm sloshing and I just can't suck down any more water. But it's still like I'm just a little dehydrated, maybe. From the output part, I'm going to be very classy about how I describe that.
Probably need to drink more.
I can't. That's the problem. I drink. I keep filling this thing up, like I said, with water with just enough flavoring so that it doesn't taste like just, water. And then it's just I've got nowhere else to put any water in me. So, you know what? Maybe what's going to end up happening is with the changing of the season, things cooling off, I won't have to worry about sweating quite so much. Then again, I'm also down to about 250 pounds now, so go me. I stopped counting when I was tipping 300 pounds. And anybody wants to give me shit about, converting it to kilos, screw y'all, because I don't even want to think about it. So, and no, Steph, I don't want it. I don't want you to convert it to stone. Just don't. I weigh as much as a extra small boulder. Okay, that's how we measure things here in the U.S. So, that's gonna be what's going on. Possibly add a little salt to the water. Generous pinch. I'm giving serious consideration to doing literally exactly that. So we'll see.
Lemon.
What I had been using was Tang, but again, just enough so that I have taste because just the taste of just straight water, it's annoying. I mean, I can drink it.
Do you have? I would use lemon concentrate, and do you have access to anise? The grain.
Oh, if it's the stuff that I think that it is, I'm pretty sure that I could find it at the grocery store as a
grain. It's in the form of a star.
Yeah,
licorice kind of flavor.
Yeah, that's not gonna. I know what that taste is, and that just brings up bad memories of Italian cookies. Which I know. Not liking Italian cookies. What the hell is wrong with me? I know, but that specific taste, just I don't know what it is about it. It just makes me feel just wrong.
Well, instead of that, why don't you put in cinnamon stick?
Ooh.
So you mix it up without the sugar, and with the lemon, and dump it in the bottle. I think the lemon concentrate, it's going to be about a 2 to 8. No, well, but 1 quart. No, a little less. 20% concentrate, the rest water, and then fill up the bottle. Put cinnamon sticks in there, and let it macerate overnight.
Oh, well, see, the problem of it is I go through several of these a day. And this
So
is
you're
a
gonna have to
good...
prepare you're gonna have to prepare a few bottles.
Yeah, it's not gonna...
What? Anyways.
What? I'm gonna walk into work with the good old the traditional milkman bag with 6 bottles.
Yeah.
It gets you a large thermos. You know, one of the ones that has a little spout handle on it
Or a really large thermos that you
that
can
holds like
maybe
10
put it,
gallons.
yeah,
Okay,
you can
now
put it on wheels and drag it behind you.
okay, now you guys are picking on. Now
No,
you're
I'm
picking
being
on.
serious.
That's...
Get you one of the thermos things that holds about 10 gallons.
But if you really want to hydrate yourself effectively, I suggest an IV drip.
I'm so glad you didn't make you. I found out that I can do this. I can actually mute my microphone so it doesn't go out to YouTube, so we don't get into trouble. So watch. I'm gonna do it like this. Now see, now I can turn the microphone back on again, and there's no reaction whatsoever because these guys are like, "Wait, what?" Yes.
And then I'd ask you, Shujin, why do you have a tail?
It's coming up on Halloween, and we're not... You know what? This isn't about me at this point, okay? We're not talking about me anymore. Picking on me, and the show is much more entertaining when I'm picking... We've been through this before. It's more fun if I'm the one making fun of everybody else rather than the other way around.
Well, are you drinking at least 2 liters of water?
You know what? This thing is about 16 ounces, and I go through like 4 that I can think of off the top of my head per day. At least, I don't know.
You need more than 4 of those. You're doing manual labor outside, okay?
I drink.
I'm just saying.
And I drink and I drink and I drink and I drink to the point where I don't have any more. I don't have anywhere else to put it. That's the problem. So I'm working on it. I'm working on it. I'll get to it. I'm working on it. Anyway,
Okay.
at least tonight I've got
saying.
orange juice and not coffee, so I'm not going to be up until 4 in the morning. Again,
I'm having strawberry soda.
strawberry soda.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I can't say anything because I've seen on the store shelves pineapple soda, so I can't say anything. That's fine. That's fine. You're having it. You like it. You know what? More power to you. You enjoy that.
Thank you.
It's not carbonated strawberry quick milk.
No.
Right. Okay,
no.
Good. That's all I wanted to find out. There's a story behind that, and maybe if somebody asks sometime, I'll explain it. Not right now, because we got show to do, and I might as well just go ahead and do that. So let's do that. We'll get to the scopes, and then we'll actually get into a very uncomfortable and weird place for a topic. Let's get it rolling. With 5 minutes on the clock, your 5-minute freestyle starts now. Drunk. No, this is not the past version of the word drink. No, drunk, as in drunk and having imbibed too much and now can't make proper decisions for oneself in any way, shape, or form. Now, this is going to kind of tie into the show's overall topic. There is the expression drunk with power. And these days here in the United States, it is fair to say that that is exactly what the Republican Party seems to be. And it's really hard to argue with that because you look at what they've been doing since they've been slowly whittling away and chipping at different pieces of the American dream and standards and practices that would otherwise be, you know, how you're supposed to comport yourself in all things sociologically and politically. These people have been steadily trying to amass power. And it's hard to argue with that because, well, just look at them all. Little by little, they intentionally have taken the same path that the Church of Scientology did. And for those of you that don't remember, Project Snow White. No, sorry, wasn't Scientology. It was the Mormons. Sorry, losing track. Pretty sure. It's one of them, and all of a sudden I've forgotten which one it is because I'm a little bit brain dead right now, smooth brain. In any case, the idea was to instill themselves, their membership, into various governmental agencies and try to infiltrate in order to have access to the same information and to scurry away bits and pieces of important paperwork, you know, back when actual literal paperwork was exactly that. And you could get away with it because, well, if it was gone, it no longer existed because, well, unless there was a carbon copy somewhere, but who knows what carbon paper is even till today. What they've been doing in the conservative movement is doing exactly that. They've been steadily grabbing little bits and pieces of power, accumulating for themselves storehouses of influence so that they could change the course of events. You look at how things have been handled at the local levels, the most basic of local levels, school boards. They go in there, they decide that they're going to go ahead and take over the school boards, get themselves elected, and slowly and steadily influence what's taught, what's acceptable, what behavior is going to be condoned. And sometimes it's as simple as not doing anything if a teacher insists the class stands for the Pledge of Allegiance. They don't have to say anything, they just have to stand along with everybody else. Here in the United States, for many years, actually for pretty much the entirety of my lifetime, it's optional in public school. And outside of the United States, pretty much every other country in the world looks at us and they're just like, dudes, what are you doing to your kids? Why would you do this? And if you're from outside, you could also look at that and kind of get really weird reverberations of this is kind of like what is being at a Catholic mass where everybody is a robot doing the same things at the same time, whether they really understand what it is they're doing or not. The Republican Party, powered by the conservative peoples, have been just drinking in everything that they can. They've been soaking it up. They've been influencing. They've been directing. It's one of those things that needs to be reined in. Because if it can't be, all that's going to be left for us to do to try to cope with it, to drown our own sorrows. I don't think that's the way to do things. And I really, really hope we can finally set things back to rights before it's too late. So now that that is all over with, and as usual, I have the big downer to start things off with, we'll bring them back up again. Let's get on over to the horrible scopes and get things, you know, a little bit more fun. So as I mentioned, yes, it is time for the horrible scopes. If you know what your astrological sign is, cool. If you don't, You can pick one, roll a d12. If you need to re-roll a d12, maybe you get in contact with the nice folks over there at Heart of the Game Fredonia. Maybe they'll sell you one of those d12s with the nice little symbols on them so you can try and figure out which one it is for yourself and just roll it out every once in a while and see what you get. Just memorize what the symbols are. Remember, that's Heart of the Game Fredonia. Hail, hail, Fredonia, home of the Blue Devil. That's a real thing. That's a real place. I know. Some people are still like, no, that's a Groucho Marx bit. Yes, it is, but no, it's a real place. This week, I've generated a random numbers from 1023 to 2023. And looking to see what's so special about each of those years over the last 1,000. Look, it was either that or search for animated GIFs based on those numbers, and really that's just not going to work in a spoken or a print format. So that's how it's going to play out. And if you don't like it, you know what? You can influence us next week, and you can make a suggestion on what. Aries, your year, 1202 started on a Tuesday, otherwise known as M. Bison's favorite day of the week. Lots of notable things happened during your year, mostly centered around various crusade battles in what is now Western Europe. Nothing specifically stands out as memorable, so we're going to use that as inspiration for you. This week, remember that you are an important part of the grand tapestry of life, even if you're otherwise a forgettable face. It's a nice face, don't get us wrong, it's just your more best supporting actor and less best actor. Know what I mean?
Taurus. Your year of 1501 started on a Friday, which means everyone got to enjoy the weekend off. No one was able to do that. It was winter in 1501, and people were trying not to freeze. In your corner, though, the first printed collection of polyphonic music was published by Ottaviano Petrucci in Venice. Just for that, this week, learn to read music again and look up what polyphonic means.
Gemini, 1052, a leap year starting on Hump Day. Okay, enough of all that. Here's a great item that happened that summer. Godwin, Earl of Wessex, sails with a large fleet up the Thames to London, forcing King Edward the Confessor to reinstate him into his previous position of power. So this week, learn from Godwin, Earl of Wessex, and sharpen up your blackmail skills. And try to remember which side is port and which side is starboard.
Yeah, we talked about that last night. And the question was, does it really much matter which side is port and which side is starboard if you've got these 6-inch cannons running the span of your deck, possibly 2 layers of which? Because I mean, I don't know. You say, okay, the guys are on that side, you blow them up on that side. That side is the boom side. Doesn't matter if it's port or starboard, it's just boom. I would love to be around one of those when they go off, but that's just me. Cancer Moon Child, also starting on a Wednesday, 1505, had the first recorded use of a tennis racket. One of the people credited with using it was, and this was his full name and title, Philip the Handsome, Duke of Burgundy. In this case, Burgundy in the Netherlands. He was also known as Philip the Fair, since, he was handsome. So this week, brush up on your backhand swing and grant yourself a posh, regal-sounding title.
Leo. 1636 was a leap year starting on a Tuesday, and we're not going to invoke the ghost of Raul Julia again this time. But this time we get to invoke the evil chuckle of Tim Curry. You see, in France, Cardinal Richelieu persuaded King Louis XIII to issue an ordinance excusing the French nobility from military service if they paid a tax which allows the hiring of paid cavalry. Now picture this. Tim Curry's version of Cardinal Richelieu from the 1993 movie Three Musketeers whispering in your ear, feeding you evil thoughts as only he can. This week, keep imagining that and let everyone wonder why you're smirking like that all day.
Yeah, Richelieu was great.
Yeah, but Tim Curry, man, evil Tim Curry whispering in your ear. I mean, come on.
He was responsible for the destruction of most of the castles in France.
Tim Curry?
No,
Oh, Richelieu.
I know.
Yeah, Tim Curry. Yeah, personally went around to, yeah, kicking castles. Okay. Where are we? Yes, Virgo. Starting on a Saturday, 1757 had a bloody awful start. There were no Saturday morning cartoons, no NPR news, no matinee movies to watch. Honestly, it just sucked. But something did come out. Something good did come of it. What the fuck? The Rigshospitalet National Hospital of Denmark is founded at Copenhagen. Its name translates as the National State or Hospital of the Realm. Okay. And is a teaching hospital still in operation today. So this week, do something long lasting.
Yeah, that was one of the ones that I looked at. I'm like 1757. I'm running the numbers into my head, and I'm like, you know what? That's just a long time. It's just a long time, and it's cool to me. Teaching.
Sorry, I kind of mangled that.
No, not any worse than I did when I tried to read it originally. No, yeah, it's a really cool idea. Libra. Wow, Libra. Starting the year 1553 on a Sunday. Got to sleep in that year, huh? Again, no, because it's the 1500s and you're trying not to freeze. Born that year was Patrice Michiel, a Venetian spy who died in 1613. Now, as any good spy would do, her actual birth date is unknown. But is it fair to say that when she died, she folded up? This week, play You Laugh, You Lose to some dad joke playlists on YouTube. Come on, man. I don't have any sunglasses to put on for that one.
I get it. Venetian blinds, fold up. Ha 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 ha. Scorpio. Another Tuesday starting year. You get 1353. And this year, the Moroccan traveler Ibn Battuta makes the first recorded visit to Timbuktu and Kabara when returning from a stay in the capital of the Mali Empire. And just like that, this is the first time the Horrible Scopes have zeroed the DJs. This week, try to do something that was never done before because nobody said you could.
Okay, I kind of have to explain that one just a little bit. There's a long-running tradition that I started called zeroing somebody. You know how there are always rules in there of, what you're supposed to do, what you're not supposed to do. They always start with the number 1. Well, DJ rule number 0 supersedes them all. And it states, and I quote, the DJ is a dick. So if somebody inspires the DJ because of something they did or said, the DJ gets to come on the microphone, say the next song is all for you, turn off the microphone, and the people just have to wonder, what the hell, what's the song going to be? And, well, in this particular case, this particular Horrible Scope inspired the song Timbuktu to be played. So there you go.
Well, alrighty then.
It's Bob Seger. I mean, how can you go wrong with Timbuktu?
But it's Bob Seger.
Bob Seger's still a good guy, right?
Yuck.
Okay, you can explain it to me after. Joseph, all yours.
Yep. Sagittarius.
You went bye-bye.
Geez, well, I'm pushing to talk.
There you
and
go.
it seems, yeah, okay, sorry.
So you need to push.
Yeah, it keeps on desactivating, like, even while my finger is still on it. Where was I cut off?
Right at the beginning.
Great. Yeah, as soon as the phone heard my voice. Sagittarius, 1504 starts off crappy and doesn't improve much since it started on a Monday without coffee. Well, most of the world didn't have coffee yet. Anyway, in your year, Michelangelo's sculpture of David is unveiled in Florence. And if you've ever seen it or a copy of it, it is magnificent. And he's got a properly proportioned penis. Yes, we said it. Nudes are art, and anyone doesn't accept that can just avert their eyes. This week, don't take a cold shower.
There are plenty of copies where he's covered, and I've got a problem with that because that's not the way that it's made. It's a nude. Blah. People get over themselves. Capricorn, starting on a Friday, 1440 was a leap year. And statistically, you're right where you want to be. Something else got started this year that's still in existence. Eton College was founded by Henry V. No, it's not Vi. It's Henry VI of England. And how cool is that? It's got a coat of arms with a lion. And if you ever look at this thing, by the way, this is a really, really weird, trippy lion design. 3 lily flowers and a fleur-de-lis. Maybe because Henry was also the disputed ruler of France for a bit. So this week, take over someone else's workplace zone by claiming it as your own, and just shrug to answer why you did it.
Aquarius, 1884 was another leap year and another Tuesday. Weird. No Thursday starts in the bunch. Oh well. How about this weird nugget? William Price attempted to cremate his dead baby son in Wales, the town. He was tried and acquitted on the grounds that cremation is not contrary to English law, thus allowing him to carry out the ceremony, the first in the United Kingdom in modern times, setting a legal precedent. So let this be a lesson to you, Aquarius. Someone needs to be dead before you set them on fire. Good talk, man.
Pisces, another Friday start, ending us at 1,199. In your weird history moment, a short-lived truce is declared between the kings Richard I, the Lionheart, and Philip II, Augustus. Two of Europe's most powerful rulers meet on the banks of the Seine River while shouting terms to one another. Just think about it, screaming back and forth across the river to exchange data. Just the same way that computer modems used to scream at each other on telephone lines, with the occasional "what?" thrown in for good measure. This week, look up the movie quote, "I hear you, I hear you, a deaf man could hear you."
There's some people that know that line very well right off the bat, and you are my people. Those are your horrible scopes for this week. Remember, if you like what you got, cool. I don't really care. I do these for me, not for you. Unless, of course, you get in touch with me and ask me to do one for you. You can influence the entire thing or ask for something nice or naughty for yourself or someone else's sign. I'll have these posted at the end of the week. As always, Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook, Discord, Blue Sky, and yes, I still have to get the show a Blue Sky account. Don't worry, I'll get to it. I've been otherwise just a little bit on the busy side. Sorry, but I'll get to it. This is episode 467 on the docket runner is Us versus Them Justified. Now, we've spent a lot of time, and I mean a lot of time, explaining how the whole us versus them tribalism mentality is a bad thing overall. But the problem of it is, as with every other thing that is a quote-unquote true binary, you can't exactly have it that way. There are certain things that are just all the way to one side of the equation, some things are all the way at the other side, and this is one of those occasions where I think we can properly make an exception to the rule. We're going to kind of talk to you guys about why and how I think that maybe there is justification for an exception to this rule. Joseph, you have been the strongest proponent with us to basically say that tribalism is a really bad thing. So would you mind just giving a real quick refresher on what tribalism kind of is and how you've felt about it?
Sorry, the push to talk button was jumping all over the place. Yeah, well, at the basic human instinct level, I mean, in the oldest parts of our brain, there's a part of us that either takes the responsibility of making life decisions for ourselves to decide what's best for our own survival, or there's the type of person that suspends that responsibility and leaves it to somebody else. And people who rely on others to tell them what's best for their survival, they tend to basically imitate. So they're brought up with a limited knowledge base, none of which is of their own making, or very little of it. You know, you've got your imitated learning plus whatever life brings you that may be on the outside of that. So that makes people tend to want to stick with others that think the same way they do. And there you have groupthink. So you have a group of people relying on a few key leaders and people who consider anything outside of the sphere of whatever they've learned so far in life or whatever they've experienced, they consider it a danger to their existence and tend to treat it as such. So thus the racism or the hate or the whatever, all the behavioral traits that ensue.
And Brigid, I think it's...
But
oh, I'm sorry, go on.
yeah, but for me, it all comes down, the root of it all is that assuming of responsibility for one's own survival, which is also critical thought.
Okay, so now I'll go over. So Brigid, what I was going to ask is, with part of that in mind, is it? I think it is fair to say, and kind of hard to argue, that culturally here in the U.S., a lot of that has been spilling out from the religious circles and been chomping at different pieces of society because of it. Sounds fair to say that one.
Yeah, I mean, they're getting desperate. Or at least it seems like desperation to me.
The problem of it is, what areas has religion infested, I guess is probably the best way of wording it, to kind of draw in more or to grab up more territory, I guess is the best way of putting it.
Well, you had these groups like Moms for Liberty, which to me, they're a bunch of Nazis. Or actually, I think the preferred term now is Nazis for nationalism or nationalist. Nationalist Christians. So I call them Nazis. but all the ones that's pushing this white nationalist crap down our throats, and getting books burned and stuff like that. And usually book burning is a bad sign, because first they burn books and then they burn people. That's the way it's played out before in history. So, yeah.
The thing that I find really, really ironic about the book burning thing in modern time is that unless it's a product that was originally published, 50, 100 years ago and hasn't been published since, it's kind of hard to eliminate information that way these days because everything's stored somewhere. It's just performance art more than anything else these
Yeah, but
days.
if they're pulling them out of all the schools and they're pulling them out of the libraries, then maybe beyond the reach of kids to get a hold of to read if they don't have money to go buy books.
Oh, I get you, and you're right. You're right. It's just that in the grand scheme of things, it's not going to be very, very assistant to a cause because they become part of the history books that way, and well, all of a sudden, they're not exactly the good guys. Can't imagine why that might be. So, Joseph, back over for you. Part of the reason why I wanted to talk it through this way and get part of the way that the way that you think about tribalism and definitionally the way that you say it, from the taking down a step from the upper echelons to the individuals. The problem with it all is those individuals tend to homogenize, I guess is probably the better word for it. They simply polarize themselves into a block of action after a while. They behave in a certain way. They follow a certain way. They think a certain way, and the leadership tends to follow that, as opposed to being the ones that organized that, I would think.
Oh,
Would that sound
well,
fair?
yeah, but it's kind of the leadership. That's really funny because the leadership can be divided. I think a tribal society could be divided into three levels. You've got the followers, and then you've got the followers in chief, and then you've got the people who are more often than not nowadays behind the scenes organizing everything, telling the followers in chief what to tell their followers. Because basically what happens when somebody is in the tribalism mode, follow the rules and you'll get your reward from the table higher up in the pyramid. And it that method worked pretty well until after the Second World War, where technology allowed us to they didn't need the middle class anymore.
Now, the reason why I wanted to bring this out the way that it is because in the current climate, and Brigid, you're very easily going to figure this one also. In the current climate, there has been discussion, and Mr. Godwin himself has gone ahead and said there is an exception to my law, which is when you're talking about actual Nazis, which we know full well currently in the modern time there are no quote-unquote Nazis literally as German people. However, those fascist contingents are out there, and they're using and appropriating everything that made Nazism what it was. But the problem.
I,
Go ahead.
I consider any organization that tells other people what to think and what to do. I think you could normally call that fascism. Maybe it's better to find another word for it. But you've got religion nowadays is kind of a soft fascism, where the religion, they tell you, what to do, how to think, and if it isn't in the Bible, if a rule that they think favorable doesn't exist, well, they invent it. But anyways, like abortion, because their basic goal is to have a group of believers, a population expanding as rapidly as possible, which that's their main goal.
But
And
they have to be
know that.
white.
Well, yeah, I don't know. That criteria seems to be shrinking, but they know that if the parents are survived by imitators, the kids are going to be too.
More often than not, yeah. And the funny, and I don't mean funny as in haha, but funny as in ooh. I remember when, oh God, I don't remember when it was or who it was that said it. I remember when there was the strangled, worried cry from some Christian org or other that was saying that was saying that we good Christian folk, milk toast looking motherfuckers that they are, they, yes, I said it, they were saying that, I don't remember what the exact terminology was. So I'm not going to completely paraphrase it, but I'm going to boil it down into its absolute essence. They were saying that they needed to have good Christian families and wear the armor of God and the sword of Jesus on their selves, and they needed to breed more children for these armies because those other folks, meaning the brown folks, the Muslim folks in particular, are going to be outbreeding them. Why do you think they've got so many kids in their families? Yes, I'm paraphrasing, but the intent was exactly that. So, calling it a soft fascism? I don't think that's wrong, but it's not an easy one to define because it's one of those squishy kind of things where, well, how soft does it have to be before it's no longer? Because you could get away with applying it differently. I'm not saying that you're wrong by any stretch of imagination. It's just I started to think of it in terms of, well, you get into a classroom in middle school and the teachers were real hard asses, kind of. I know. That's how my brain operates sometimes. Where I was trying to get to before, however, is that there are groups now in various different areas, unfortunately, not just in the US. I hate to say, I really wish it was contained to just the US so that we weren't infecting the rest of the world with it. But with those who have been going after marginalized peoples, I guess is the best way of putting it. For the simple reason of that they exist. And I'm thinking of the immigrant populations. I'm thinking of the younger generations. I'm thinking of those of the LGBTQIA plus areas. And going after them simply because they exist.
But they go after them because they won't just blindly obey because they're different.
Yep.
And people are different, tend to think for themselves,
Yep.
and they don't like that. That's
Yeah.
all. So you can put any label you want on them, but it basically comes down to that. They're just not like us.
And the funny
We
part,
can,
sorry,
yeah, go on. Sorry.
well, what I was going to say is that the funny part about it is there for people for people like us in the margin, the atheists, the well spoken out atheists, I should say, we are still, although we're gaining official numbers, we are still kind of the fringe, kind of, and we don't tend to have the same level of organized kickback, I guess might be the best way for me to put it, because for exactly that reason, as somebody best put it, organizing atheists is like herding cats, as the old expression goes. We have a tendency of looking at things and deciding for ourselves which way we go. And yeah, collectively, there is probably an overall push towards a particular direction of how to operate on a particular topic. But you can well imagine there's just no burning laser focused deciding on how to do something, where to do something, what goal to achieve, and how to get there. Although there are a number of other groups on the opposition really want to tear us down who have just decided exactly how they're going to do that one way or another.
Well, it's kind of like what's going on in your everyday website with the use of cookies. I mean, tracking behavior is become the center of everything. And if you don't toe the line, if you don't imitate your neighbor, who knows what you're thinking? They don't know that, and they can't control that. It basically comes down to that.
Yeah. Yeah. And personally, I am very glad that I am no longer part of, well, for a number of reasons, part of the Roman Catholic Church. There are a number of reasons. We don't have to get into any of them, because anybody that has listened to the news for any appreciable length of time knows full well that there's plenty of reasons, but the biggest of it all was just that it never made any sense to me. But then there are groups that are less passive, tacit about people leaving their ranks. Groups like the Church of Scientology, Mormons, the Jehovah's Witnesses, that if you leave, well, you now have a huge problem. Because they will just leave you to die on a floating iceberg.
That's a survive by imitation mentality. I mean, anything outside of a given sphere, or as the religious like to say, worldview, which basically means a set of assumed principles and rules of behaviors. Yeah, anybody who goes outside of that is just as good as dead for them. And that's even like between parents and children, like children being disowned for not giving up, not bowing to their parents' will, for children who dare to not be broken, who dare to resist.
And that's where
And yeah, and just like the parent in the survive by imitation mind, to the parent, if the kid is behaving outside their control, the parent will just feel completely incapable of doing anything to protect them, quote unquote, which in their mind they think they're doing by breaking their child and making their child obey the same rules that they had to when they were indoctrinated growing up. So
Yeah, where I was going to say is that it's not just a matter of, well, we'll use the example of the Jehovah's Witnesses for a second, because we've had some experience talking about this on the show before. It's not even just a matter of turning away and leaving the person if they leave the church, and just basically just turning their back on them. There is active shunning, I guess it might be the best word for it. Not just because they left the group, but because their continued existence in the community is viewed as dangerous, never mind heretical. And like I said, we've talked about that before, and to this day, I still cannot wrap my mind around the idea that someone's existence alone is reason for active desire for harm.
But what that does, the fact that that other person who doesn't obey the rules has a perfectly happy existence and all that, that instills doubt in the believer mindset, that puts into question everything the believer was ever taught. And like, if you're depending on somebody else for your survival, somebody else's with 100% certainty set of rules, then you're just bringing the leadership, everything you've ever learned about survival. It would be like just like becoming a newborn again for them if they have to reject their entire quote unquote worldview. It's like, it's a feeling of total helplessness, actually. Because in a survive by imitation, that's also in the survive by imitation, well, clan mindset. That's why they seek comfort in numbers as well. The bigger the numbers, the more convinced they are. It's all about maintaining this illusion of certitude that they're doing the right thing. And anything that brings into question that is seen as a mortal danger.
And you just brought me over to a point that I was hoping to get to anyway, which is, now that there have been groups, marginalized groups, that have been specifically targeted by specific groups for no other reason other than the fact that they exist. And again, the marginalized group could be any one of a host of different groups because, well, there's plenty of them to go around. But I am thinking very specifically, again, of the LGBTQIA plus community, because I have a vested interest there. These groups have been organizing. They have been showing themselves. They have been outing themselves in some capacities. And they have been taking to the attack. But there are a number of groups, there are a number of individuals, high-profile individuals, who have done it in, I guess the best way of describing it is in super classy fashion. Brigid, wasn't there somebody that not too very long ago was celebrating the fact that he and his husband had adopted a baby, and people were just clamoring all about it? complaining about it all. And it was probably somebody in U.S. politics, as I remember, some rather well-spoken individual that you might have some personal knowledge to. I don't remember what his name was. It was
Who, Pete and Chaston Buttigieg?
I think that's who I was thinking of.
And they adopted twins?
Is he or is he not an incredibly smart and well-spoken gentleman when it comes to taking people down that richly deserve it?
Oh, he's amazing. He is like, I could see him running for president again in 2028.
I can hope so. He's still relatively young, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's 41 now.
You got to be at least 35 here in the U.S. in order to run for president. So yeah,
Yeah.
that would work.
But he did a lot better last time than I thought he would, because I figured he would get around 2%. So I was like, yeah, you go, Pete. I'm definitely Team Pete.
I can't imagine why.
Well, it's not like I was trying to fix him up with my daughter before he came out of the closet or anything, but you know, just saying.
Such as. But for all right, this probably isn't going to be the right term for it, but for the gay cause, I think that he has been a wonderful personality. Like I said, classy as hell, well-spoken, well-educated, and sounds it without sounding like he's a complete douche nozzle about it.
All right, he's not condescending in any way.
Yeah. He
But
elevates.
he can definitely he's quick on his feet though. He can definitely think very quickly and come back with an answer to any question you want to ask him.
Yeah,
he's got something. He's got something else going for him. Is for him. He's very careful with his language, but for him, I think he sees it how it is. It's not about LGB or whatever group you want to indicate. It's about the bigots. That's where the attention should be. The people who are scared of anything different. And you know, I see this list getting longer. Before it was what was 4 characters, LBGT?
Typically, yes.
And it just gets longer and longer. And I think eventually we're going to understand that, you know, anything different between consenting humans that doesn't harm anybody else, it's just not a danger. It's just not. And anybody who thinks for themselves, I mean, the notion of racism, of different and all that, it's just like, yeah, it doesn't hurt anybody. It has nothing to do with me. It's none of my business. So, like, what the fuck? If they're happy. And I think I'd like to expand on that a bit, but I think, like, it's funny about gender identity. I think that already a man and woman, it's already, it's a role that's imposed on us. I'd like to see that go away. I mean, there are, you know, I've always been in admiration of, you know, girls who do what the boys do and all that, like tomboys. I'd love to have a daughter. I'd just teach her all the shit, you know, like tools or whatever. Yeah, I'd like to see that notion of man and woman go away, because it's just like we're in the 21st century. We're not fighting mammoths or anything like that anymore. So same rules for all. That's all I want. Just the same rules for everybody.
And I can easily see that having its proper foothold, and I had to say it this way, in probably 40, 50 years. And I say that from the standpoint of the people of my generation had our formative years in the 80s where men were men, women were girls were girls. I'm saying it this way for a reason. Follow me a second. One of the biggest pieces of entertainment was Saturday morning wrestling, where everything was just the gladiator games, only with less, well, I was going to say less blood, but on TV, yeah, it would have been, but less death. And the girls were paraded around as eye candy with hair that reached the top of the ceiling, provided you didn't set it on fire in the winter with static electricity. I'm sure Brigid knows nothing about what it would take to put Aquanet on the face of the map there. That would be wrong. But I'm saying like 40, 50 years because the changeover where this kind of mental societal change for wanting there to be more openness about gender and sexuality, that is finally truly exploding in the now. And it's gonna take some more time for that to really properly take its hold. And I hate to say it,
Yeah,
the people of my generation, some are going to be well on board. And I can easily see a third to even a half of us are going to be on board with it, because not only did we grow up with the whole, guys are guys, gals are gals, but we also had the androgyny that was happening in the entertainment field. So for those of us that don't exactly want to be on board, it's going to take some time for those to die off. And, well, that's just going to end up happening. It's just an eventuality. And it's an inevitability that what you're talking about is going to finally happen. It's just, I may not live to properly see it.
But it should have been over with during World War II.
It should have.
yeah.
Because
But
all the women were doing all those jobs that men weren't around to do.
Yeah, Rosie the Riveter. It was a great campaign, and it absolutely highlighted that, yeah, gals can go out there. The WACs were established for exactly that reason. Crying out loud.
But we need representation. We don't have it yet.
No.
And as soon as we do get representation, like people, progressive, count. I think Trudeau's a good example, and to the northern side of the border. But I mean, like Buttigieg, if he ever gets elected president, just someone like him. We need because we've got to survive by imitators. The number of believers is dwindling. No matter how loud they shout, the actual statistics show that the nons are growing exponentially, and eventually they're going to lose their foothold. So when we do get representation, that's where the new center is going to be, actually.
Yeah.
It's going to be in the progressive thinking.
And
but until then,
yeah, and I know full well it's going to have happen. Again, it's just going to be a question of when. Now back onto the specifics from the topic for tonight. With these pieces in mind, I think it is fair to say that those of the minorities, of the fringe groups, who are being targeted for no other reason other than the fact that they even exist, I think it is fair for them to go ahead and be identifying specific groups that have been already targeting them, because they have been for, in some cases, depending on the group, for the last 50 years, whether obviously or surreptitiously. And the fact that I actually got that word out and I'm relatively tired is a testament to how strong the coffee was that I had this afternoon. So go me. I think it's fair for them to go ahead and say that there are specific groups that they need to fight against, and they need to ostracize themselves, and they need to turn their back to, and they need to work actively to prevent the influence of, dismantle the organization of, not even sure what terminology to use. But like I said, the gay community and the conservative majority of the population here in the United States is one of the biggest ones. And as an example, as far as to, well, just how overt has it been, I'll just use 3 words that's going to make people's spines just not want to be with them anymore. Gay conversion therapy.
I see something. If we put the focus on the bigots,
mm-hmm.
and all of us together work actively against that, at least call them out for their bigotry and all that. I don't. There's a part of me that doesn't really like seeing people who are the target of bigotry putting themselves into like ethnic groups, making like groups of their own. It's almost, I'd like to see anybody who's been the subject of bigotry to form a huge coalition against the bigots. Anti-bigotry united, or
No, I get you.
That's the, and I mean, it's like, racism and all that, and segregation of people from different religions. I mean, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, because the bigots, they exclude, they make life more difficult for a certain, ethnic origin or whatever, or religious order. And excluded people, they tend to be a little more desperate to survive. And also, it's useful. Racism is useful for these type of people, because excluded people are going to be more desperate for work, so they're going to be working for cheaper wages.
And that also brings up the small problem of, well, the people who are offering these effectively slave wages are the ones that are screaming the most about not wanting to have people like them in their area of geopolitical influence.
Yeah, but they need to be called out on this.
Oh, I agree.
I mean, so I think all we can do for now is just like try to get a critically thinking voice in office, so we can start doing shit.
Yep, that's fair. And funny enough, that actually this works out well, because where is it over here? Well, Stephanie had also pointed out, deeply ashamed that torture is not illegal in the UK. With you on board, not as a shaming thing, but as we can only hope the same very, 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 very soon. Very soon. And Seeker's right on board with me. Yet who's hiring the illegal workers? Right on the money there, man. But Stephanie had pointed out also, just gone by just a little bit ago, a cheerful thought. And Brigid, I want your feedback on this one. Taylor Swift told her fans to get registered to vote, and the government website was bombarded by teens registering. How hot is that?
I hope she does it some more. She got like over 35,000 people to register.
You know, the thing about it too. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll be right back. P emergency.
Okay. What I was going to say, though, is that there are people now who have been decrying, I guess is the best word for it, the fact that there are teenagers who are all up in arms about what's going on around the world and think that they can make a change in the world, and they're making statements about what they think has been going on politically and who they want to work with. You get the idea. And how amazing to see the numbers as they keep coming in, that 17 turning 18-year-olds here in the US are becoming one of the biggest, most influential blocks for voting in decades.
Well, they need to. I mean, their interests have got to be looked out for. And, climate change is a problem. Getting shot in school is a problem. I'm glad to see them getting involved, because nobody else has done anything yet. So they have to.
And I've said it before, those of the much older generation, i.e., 20 plus years older than we are, which means into their 70s plus, let's call it 75 plus, they're not doing anything about it. The people in our overall age bracket, so technically the Gen X area, we were never allowed the chance to take over the reins because the boomers simply refused to get the fuck out of the way. Yep, that's two for me for tonight. And as far as I'm concerned, so. And it's the younger ones now who are coming up that are finally like, you know what? None of you sons of bitches want to go ahead and do anything about it? Fine. I'll do it myself. And I hate to say it because my generation was supposed to have been the stewards of this new century. Good. Rock on, guys. Just do what needs to be done. We'll be right there with you. At least that's the way that I feel about it personally, because, well, some of us tried, and a lot of us were simply shoved to the side and marginalized ourselves and not given the opportunity to get in there and do, because, well, them that's got power didn't want to get rid of it because, well, then they wouldn't have the power and authority anymore. Well, that would be just wrong.
We've always been ignored anyway. We still are.
We were the generation of latchkey kids.
Yep.
And before anybody goes ahead and says anything positive about that, I want to remind people that this was not necessarily a good thing. Because this was also at a time when families needed to have two incomes. That was the biggest part of it. You couldn't just have one person working outside the home and one person by choice not working. At least not earning an income, not working outside. Because let's face it, the quote unquote, the term of homemaker is a job, whether you want to appreciate it or not. But our families had two incomes coming in because they had to. And we were the ones that, although we may not have necessarily recognized it at the time, suffered for it. We needed a key to get into our own homes.
Yep. Because a lot of the parents worked 3 to 11. So there we were by ourselves.
And what did we do? We
did our homework and found something to eat and watch TV. And, some people got in trouble that they probably wouldn't have had there been an appropriate supervision, but, that's just kind of the way that it was.
And there were a couple of ways that could have been worked around. I mean, shifting time with families for being able to get work, being paid enough for one income to survive and thrive on, like it used to be once upon a time ago.
Yep.
Hell, pooling resources for families together so that neighborhoods could actually work together to help bring up the kids would have been preferable. But we didn't exactly have that.
Well, not when all the neighbors had to work too.
I'm reading the chat right about now, and trying to process a portion of this because I've not exactly been following all the news because personal mental health is what it is. But Stephanie had pointed out something, and it kind of backtracks a little bit of what Seeker was saying before about who's hiring the illegal workers. Don't worry, I'm not gonna completely leave the thing about who's taking over the reins of government and whatnot. We'll get right back to that for a second. But Stephanie had pointed out, Florida is having a little trouble with rebuilding after the latest storm, as those despised immigrants, scare quotes, fled the state. Wow. Imagine that. You unfairly target a group of people that are just looking to make a buck and live and help their families. And oh, look at that. You run them out of town, and well, now you don't have them to help you do your stuff. Wah. I can only hope these people found somewhere safe to relocate to and they can actually do properly for themselves and their families. I'm one of those people that very much believes there is no such thing as an illegal person. Okay, people came across the border, so and they didn't go through the proper channels, and they're just coming across to work. Yeah, and I mean the people that are coming across the border and they're doing stuff illegal other than just living. Thank you very kindly. Yeah, they're going to make a mistake sooner or later, or not, as the case may be. But sooner or later, they're the ones that are going to make a stupid mistake and go and screw with the law. Maybe they could be drug runners. Maybe they could be money runners. Maybe they could be, who only knows? But, the people that are just out there just to survive and make a buck to help themselves and their family, I'm sorry. It may be kind of Pollyanna of me, but isn't that what the whole point of the expression, the American dream, was supposed to be? You remember that expression as well as I do.
Yep.
And if memory serves, the only reason why there were such restrictions on immigration policy and whatnot was, what was it? It started post World War One, I think, where groups were coming across because of the aftermath of the war and trying to find themselves a new place to settle. And all of a sudden, the groups that were here already are just like, no, we don't want the Irish here. No, we don't want the Italians here. Sorry, we don't want the Italians here. We don't want the Germans here. And yet they all come across and it's like, look, we just want to do the same thing you guys did. Just want a chance. And they did. They came over. They found community. They had, what, $5 in money and skills that they brought from wherever the hell it was they were traveling from, stowed away on boats. And just trying to escape some hellholes sometimes.
I think the movie that best englobes that, I think, is Once Upon a Time in America. I think that's the title. The story of New York, the founding of New York.
I don't know that one in particular, but then again, at this point in the
It's
night,
all about the Irish, actually, because the Irish were the scourge of New York at that time.
why am I not surprised?
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I said, at one point it was the Irish, at another point it was the Italians, at another point it was the Germans, at another point it was the, oh God, who the hell else? Well, everybody at some point or other. And the funny part of it is, these days you look at some of the old cartoons that going back to the old Looney Tunes, Warner Brothers days, the 40s. Every beat cop at the time with the old copper buttons all the way down one side of their body, or they all had the Irish accent because they were the ones. Amazing how it just changed around and people just embraced, So sooner or later, these groups that have been ostracizing, they're going to either embrace and accept the groups that they've been pushing around, or they're going to find themselves on the opposite side of the equation, being the ostracized and minority groups eventually. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm okay with that right now. Because those are really the only two possibilities long term. There are still people, there are still groups, and the ones who are up and coming, like I said, the 17 and 18-year-olds who are going to be new voters, they are highly motivated and very tuned in to what's been going on in the news. They know what's been going on. They've recognized it. They know what's been going wrong because they've lived it. And goddamn, they are angry enough to get shit done. Which means they're going to be burning a lot of bridges with these groups that have been ostracizing their friends and family. So maybe that 40, 50-year time frame that I was talking about before, maybe we won't have to wait quite that long to see the change. Because that is going to be a big change, probably the next, I'd say 10 years. It's going to be a relatively short time frame, but man, it is going to change massively.
I sure hope so.
I truly believe that it is simply a statistical inevitability. For the life of me, I cannot believe that it would be anything other than, yeah, it's going to happen. It's just going to happen, period. And here I am, I'm thinking about it, and I'm just like, what was the guy's name in Foundation? Selden, that's what it was. Yeah, the guy that developed psychohistory. I know. It's not a real thing, but it kinda is. But it's not. I know. I'm sorry, just reading the chat. Stuff going on that's, sorry. trying to process stuff. Brain is smoothing out as we go along. And I didn't have any alcohol. I haven't had any alcohol in a long time. So it is where it is. That being the case, then I don't want to go too much further because I think I don't think I'm going to be able to properly hold too much further anyway. Is it fair to say that society at large, even though it is not the minority, society at large, could it, or more appropriately, should it specifically focus as a them versus us ideal for those of the capital C conservative movement? I'm saying that from the standpoint of what have they been doing? Who have they been attacking? How have they been harming? And which groups have they been doing it to? The funny part of it is, I think that last question is, I think they've been doing it to pretty much virtually the entire planet. Because they simply do not want there to be any safety measures because they cost money. And because of that, the environment screws, and that screws everybody. And I'm wondering what you guys think about that idea.
I'm going to let Joseph take this one.
Yeah, well, once again, target the bigots. You know, the people who are, we've got ours, so fuck everybody else. And we want things to stay exactly the way they are because we don't know anything else. That has to end.
And funny enough, that's exactly what I think the capital C conservative groups, I should say. I think that's the way that they operate more than anybody else. Because the progressives tend to be much more of the, look, we've already done all this stuff. We've already tried this before. Nothing's been working. Let's move on to something new. But again, that whole herding cats thing, trying to get consensus to focus and do something, which is a minor annoyance to me.
Well, I don't think there are any conservatives anymore. Maggots are not conservative. There is nothing conservative about them at all. They're regressive.
You know, that's fair. That's fair. They're simply theocrats with their messiah as the great orange one.
Yep.
I hear you. You know what? That's an incredibly good point, and I feel bad that I didn't even think of that. But I also feel bad because it should never have come to this in the first place. But the hell do I know?
And here we are.
And here we are. Just trying to do the best that we can and hold on and do what little teaching we can. Funny enough, there was something. There it was, Stephanie. You had put it over here. There it is. never mind, this is going way back earlier to what was said. Never mind fighting mammoths. Finding vegetation it is safe to eat required a depth of knowledge only found among specialists these days. That is no longer necessary. What I wanted to point out just now is how amazingly necessary that is. The necessity of having people knowing things, researching things, learning things, and investigating things. And the thing that
there was a time, the irony in that is that one of the most targeted sort of people especially in the medieval times, was the witch, and normally that was the source of wisdom in any village. What's good to eat, what's bad to eat. The witch or the sage woman, whatever you want to call her, was the source of knowledge for the community. Scientist at the same time, doctor, and scientist also. And that's exactly what religion did not want.
And now that same kind of anti-intellectualism has reared itself yet again. Just wrapped in an American flag. These kids coming up, they've seen who the enemy is. And the enemy is apathy. I, for one, can't wait to see what they do. Because they are damn mad, and they are damn well gonna get things done. And as far as I'm concerned, more power to them. And I'm still gonna wear that shame that we never got the chance to do what we should have. But that's from another point of view for another time. I've otherwise got nothing left in the tank that I really want to go through. Was there anything, Brigid, was there anything left for you?
Not really. I'm proud of Maxwell Frost and what a good job he's doing in Congress. And very pleased that David Hogg, I don't know if you remember who he is or not.
Yes.
Apparently has some kind of a PAC or something formed, but he's trying to get people to run for office that are, around his age. And I'm just like, you go, buddy, you go.
I should see about getting a fire lit under my ass and see about getting in contact. Because I think that would be friggin' wild. Joseph,
But they're stepping up though. I'm so proud of them for stepping up.
Absolutely. Joseph, anything left over for you then for tonight?
No, I'm pretty well good. Lots more to talk about, but
yeah, and I wish that I had a little bit more brain power going on, because I'd like to be able to direct this a little better. But I would much rather.
I'd suggest you do the show a little bit earlier, but that's going to make it stupid early for me.
Yeah, I know. This particular week has just been it's just been really, really, really tough on me physically, because it's been just as busy as it is. But things should be slowing down a bit, so I should have I should have some energy reserve left at the end of the nights again.
Mm.
I'll get
Okay. Get an adrenaline shot ready for next week.
no, and no. And I'll tell you why. Actually, I'll let Brigid tell you why. Where's an adrenaline shot supposed to be given, Brigid?
But
Well, we could give it to you in your ass.
yep.
It's not a requirement, but we could.
They suggest the upper leg or the ass.
Here, I was thinking that it's supposed to go between the second and third rib in order to get to the.
No.
Oh, that. Yeah, that's no. More bee sting allergy kind of adrenaline things.
Oh, you're talking the $600 EpiPen.
EpiPen.
Yeah, $600.
Yep.
Jesus.
That's what they go for here.
Currently.
Assholes.
Currently.
Yeah. It's adrenaline. Jesus.
Yeah. That's a drug costs. We can discuss that another time, because Lord knows sooner or later we will end up doing that, because it'll probably come up again, but we can deal with that later when we've got a little bit of a better handle on it, and I'll try to make sure that I give much more advance notice on that one, because I'm going to need to do some homework, and I don't like to do homework anymore.
Yeah, and I don't like to talk about it because mine are probably $1,200 a month. Easy.
But you're still with us, so
I'm still with you. Yeah.
I guess I'll take that as a win.
It's a lot of money, though.
Yeah.
And that's with insurance, which is what sucks.
I hear you. But still, like I said, I'm just glad you're here. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll just call it a night. So, guys, as always, thank you very much for being with us. We hope that you found something worthwhile in all of our perspectives, and you got something to think about for the week ahead. And I'm suddenly realizing that I am a half muscle memory that, and half, oh, wow, you're getting really mumble mouthed now. Can't imagine why. It's going to be one of those nights I'm going to be getting to sleep, I'll bet. Anyway, over on the chat, Stephanie, Seeker, thank you guys. Glad you're able to make it. Joseph, good to have you back. Again, glad you had yourself a fun time last weekend, but you take care of yourself, man. It's always, I was about to say, always a pleasure, always an honor, and they both tried to come out at the same time out of my face. So how about just thank you for being able to show up?
Yeah, well, thanks for having a place for me.
Brigid, plenty of targets out there. Who's it going to be this week?
Lauren Boebert for being such a fucking hypocrite.
I'm sorry. Are you talking about the woman that got Beetlejuiced this weekend?
Yes. Yes.
No, not
that would be her.
Yes, you heard that that's now becoming the term for it, getting Beetlejuiced?
But that would be her. Yes.
Yeah, because she decided it was okay to vape in a public space. Indoors. At a play.
She got Beetlejuiced with Santorum?
No. No, but funny enough, if memory serves, she also got fondled at the same venue. So, yeah, I'm not getting in the middle of that one any further than that, because I really don't think that I should.
And it's not fair. They had cameras. Oh no.
I believe I speak for all of us where I say, wah. mean, I could be wrong, but I mean, if you guys disagree with me, you know, you're more than welcome to stop me next time. That's what I thought. If you'd like to be in touch with us, take a swing on over to the website, holycrapthevlogcast.com. You can get the audio version of the podcast. And if you want to be in touch, all the contact links are there. Plus, if you'd like to leave us a voicemail message, we'll see how much longer I feel like keeping Google on the hook for that one. Phone number for us is 859-HCTV-554, 859-4288-554. And love to hear from you. Who knows? Maybe we'll even play it on the air. We're not on the air, but you know what I mean. In any case, guys, please take care of yourselves. And we'll be looking forward to talking to you again next week. So until that next time, as always, I wish you all the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you well. And my lady, it is over 18 years later. I am still in love. Well, Matane Fujin. I love you. I miss you. Dream of me. Till the next time we're together, everyone. As always, good night.